So recently I was watching some yaoi porn before I realised it's been a long time since I talked about a Pokemon hack. I browsed around a little bit and came across a hack called Pokemon Order and Chaos. It boasts a completely original Pokedex, new sprites and a more interesting story, but to be honest, the simple fact it had the word chaos in the title meant I had to play it. So the story begins with, rather than being a professor, a history lesson. In the olden times, war, famine and disease plagued the region of Mando, caused by the god dragon Chaostra until the dragon Aldorana stopped him. It is then a prophecy is made in which a chosen 15-year-old with their province's surname would lead the world to prevent chaos from spreading. 500 years later with the region splitting into two and Jesus Christ, is this gonna be on the test? Okay, so long story short, the king dies and as you are a 15-year-old with the correct surname, you are destined to take his place. The complicating factor? You have a twin brother. We battle against each other, but due to the nature of the fight being rigged like an election at a North Korean oil refinery, he ends up winning. And as the prophecy states, the better will be blessed and start his journey to prove he is the strongest by collecting badges and challenging the Frontier League. Once he is champion, he will enslave the other province and be worshipped as a god! You know, just your standard Pokemon game. You run back home after your defeat and upon stepping outside, you fall through the ground into a secret bunker. This is where you meet the game's antagonists. Not your usual Team Rocket thugs. These guys are eco-terrorists. They want to take away all technology that hurts the environment and don't take them as some cheap Team Rocket knockoff. In fact, their holdover using electricity is so strong, whenever you try to heal at the Pokemon Center, the lights go out. Since the player character seems rather bitter about losing his battle, he takes it upon himself to take down the eco-terrorists so he may become famous. I mean, he'll still be a slave to his brother, but hey, at least no one will be preaching to you about the proper disposal of your fridge. Upon exploring the town a little further, you'll find some wild grass and trainers to introduce you to your first Pokemon. And while they may not be perfect, they aren't too bad. Okay, they're mostly horrible, but I've seen worse. The starters look pretty badass along with a couple of wild Pokemon, but you can tell that some corners were definitely cut. This Pokemon here is just a colour swap of Natu, and this one is a black Shinx with the body of an Aipom. But even then, I feel inclined to forgive them seeing how they introduce new types of Pokemon like Clown and Space. Plus, there are a lot of new Pokedex entries. This Shinx Pokemon can see through your clothes! Also in the first town is the daycare center, which is a rather questionable choice in my opinion. For those unaware, when you put a Pokemon in the daycare, it gains 1 experience for every step you take outside, and since this is the first town where most Pokemon could level up if you merely sneeze hard enough, you can cheese the game pretty early on to have some strong Pokemon. It becomes especially quick seeing how a lot of early Pokemon you catch have the pickup ability, which means you may be lucky enough to get a nugget for extra cash. Plus, since you have to play on an emulator, you can of course speed up the game to make walking even quicker, so let's just say, if you have any podcasts to catch up on, you can go places pretty fast. Well, I say you can go places pretty fast. The first route of this game connecting the starting town to the first gym is bloody ginormous! It's not like there's a huge amount of trainers there, just walking through is such a hassle, especially if you don't have any healing items. Well, I say that as if it was an option. You physically can't buy healing items until you get into the first town. You have to get to the first gym before the luxury of potions is bestowed upon you, and even then, they still fuck it up. While potion healing is fine enough, the only status healing items you can buy are antidotes for poison. In my playthrough, do you want to guess how many times my Pokemon got poisoned? Twice. But how many times did they get paralyzed? No word of exaggeration here. A literal fuck-ton. And since paralysis never goes away outside of battle, you have to go back to the Pokemon Center each time it happens. And that gets really annoying when all the routes are so big. Oh, you thought the first route took a long time to navigate? Order and Chaos has a knack for taking you through some of the most annoying places, and just when you think things couldn't get any worse, the game responds by saying, "Please bitch, hold my beer." Giant sprawling forests and deserts with no clear direction and wild Pokemon everywhere. There's even sections on each route that lead to nowhere. No items, no landmarks, no fucking point. But even if the routes were long, you could make it easy on yourself by toning down your play sessions. Except I didn't have that luxury. When I tried to load up my game save for the first time, the ROM kept booting me back to the intro sequence. So I tried again using a different emulator. Black screen whenever I booted up my save file. Okay, but this is an emulator, I can just use save states. Save states crashed the game completely. I played through the first hour of this game 4 times. The solution I finally came to was just to leave the emulator running and pray to God my computer didn't need a system restart. I checked some forums, and while I'm definitely in the minority with this problem, I am not alone. But I don't care about dealing with this. I just want to know how. How do you fuck up The save feature! This is a hack! It's already part of the game! And given I had to work around the save issue, I really didn't think I would play as much as I did. But this game functions like a bad mobile app. I didn't like it, but it gives me small rewards just frequently enough to keep me playing. That's the weirdest thing about this game. While it may be a bit slow, the pacing of this ROM is better than most other hacks I've ever played. In fact, scratch that, it's better than most Pokemon games I've played. I was thoroughly invested in a game that at no point I felt like I was enjoying. They try to do a lot of things to keep you invested now that I think about it. There's side quests you can do for people to earn rewards, but they have a hard time actually telling you what those rewards are. This guy just said thank you on a loop. It took me 2 hours before I realized he gave me an egg. Adopting children is not a reward. And the main story with the eco-terrorists doesn't go very far. I beat their base at the town with the second gym and they didn't appear for the rest of my playthrough. Some old man just came out of nowhere and said, well done, and then just disappeared. The villain of the game turns into this guy called Atlas, who's a supposed serial killer. Well, they keep that aspect of him pretty mysterious, but hey, if you can't trust a guy dressed as a space marine, who can you trust? Oh, but if there's one aspect of the game you shouldn't trust, it's the difficulty curve. Like the hips of a sleepy belly dancer, it moves rather sporadically. This is one of those Pokemon hacks where the creator likes to give larger than average teams to your opponents. The big problem though is that there is next to no proper balancing. You can go into a gym and where one battle will nearly wipe out your entire team, the next trainer along might as well be fighting with a wet towel. Oh, and in the event that you do white out, this is the screen that you get presented with. Which honestly, is how I'm feeling inside. And with all the routes and all these battles and the walking back to the Pokemon Center because I can't buy proper healing items and the battles and the walking that you do over and over and over and over and over and over! Guys, I think I hate this. I beat 4 gyms, that's gotta be enough. It's not that it's a bad game, I played more than I did most hacks. This ROM knows so many things, so unbelievably well, but at the same time, it's fucking annoying. I can imagine some people enjoying this, but for the sake of my own sanity, this really isn't for me. So if you excuse me, I am going to have a rest. Since I'm now technically enslaved to my brother, it seems I might not get chance for another one.